Highbury Park, between Moseley and King's Heath in Birmingham, is now mainly known as the home of the Chamberlain family. However, before Joseph Chamberlain bought Highbury in the 1870s, the main building on the estate was the large house at the Henburys. The only substantial feature of the Henburys remaining in 2011 is the recently renovated brick wall. The intention of the current project is to replant the wall border in a style in keeping with its age. The view the Chamberlains had in the 1890s will not have changed much from inside Highbury Hall, but from their high viewpoint they would have been able to view the whole estate, as 100 years ago the trees would not have been so tall. Their family letters suggest that they were able to follow developments on the former Henburys estate with interest. The Cadburys acquired the Offcombe estate in 1890, built Offcombe House and bought the Henburys from the Lyndon family in 1893. They made quite substantial changes, as can be seen in the reduction in the size of the house in the maps of 1837 and 1904, and the outbuildings were also largely removed. The distinctive curve of the path can still be seen in 21st century images from Google Earth, as can the Henburys rosebed, which is under threat from current local government economies. David Papadopoulos of Highbury Community Partnerships described the Henburys in a short tour which started at the highest point in the park where the obelisk once stood and finished at the point where the wall would have been seen from the Henburys' house.
The obelisk is at the top of a hedge-lined garden path or circuit. So that little circle is the obelisk, and it would have been surrounded by yew or some other kind of hedge. There's a depression in the ground where the foundation of the obelisk was removed. So that's how I know that this is the spot. So I am the obelisk, and I'm surrounded by holly hedge. And the garden path goes down that way, so that's what we're going to do next. So I think that the yew and some shrubs over here were the original hedge, but the hollies on either side of us were probably the north side of the garden circuit, and that the path went down here, so I'm just going to head off this way. So there's a holly up here, and there's a holly there, so we're probably in the confines of the old garden path. This bit of the garden that was leading up to the obelisk that's now behind us adjoined what was initially, according to Phillida, a croquet lawn. And so if we continue down this way, you'll be able to see the outline of the croquet lawn. So somewhere behind us, possibly at the end of the hollies, there's a footpath that comes off this garden path and crosses down to the railway. But the rest of this is the old kitchen garden. So basically, from here on down was planted up as what Phillida called the kitchen garden. And on this map, it shows that the area to the west of the croquet lawn was planted up with fir trees or pine trees, and you can see some of those now. So there are cedars, yew tree, pines, some other things in the area adjacent to it. So it's quite possible that those trees were planted in the early 1800s as well. Where I'm standing, the house would have been over to my right. The house would have been over to my right. There were formal gardens along here. The croquet lawn is over here. And there are a variety of trees that seem to be quite old. So there's a deodar cedar. There are two hollies, variegated hollies that are probably over 150 years old.
As part of a research agenda, David invited Pam Smith, horticulturalist and garden historian, to outline the possibilities for a wall border. Ham agreed to visit and measure the site and to make some suggestions for planting both the border, and also investigated where the foundations of the outbuildings and old glasshouse were located. There was also a visit to Moseley Dovecote, where Rosemary Turner and her colleagues had restored both the building and the beds in keeping with their age, and were able to advise on both the requirements and difficulties of this type of project. The final stage of the project will depend on the facilities and assistance available, but even though the plan may be modified by circumstances, the object is still to plant a border at the wall in keeping with the style in which it was originally designed, and would be recognisable as such when viewed from the site of the Henburys house.